Hey, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to another video. This is another paid request. This time for Elliott. Thank you so much for that. For those interested in requesting any type of videos, topics, reactions, commentaries, whatever it may be, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. And this is for the 2005 film Serenity, which is the bookend and at this point closure, as you can get, for the TV show Firefly. Now, thanks to Elliott, I did watch and review the one season only that was made of Firefly, created by Joss Whedon, about this group of outcasts led by Nathan Fillion. You have a second command, played by Gina Torres, her husband, kind of a goofy pilot, played by Tudyk. You have this other mercenary who he's some fun comic relief as well, played by Adam Baldwin, because he's not the brightest bulb. You have this brother and sister who's part of the cargo, and kind of the thrust of the plot. The doctor and her sister, played by Glau. The movie definitely showcases more of what happened to the sister and why she's being chased. You also have this shepherd, this religious guy, played by Ron Glass from Barney Miller, among other stuff. You have this female mechanic. Kind of a fun group of characters, and what made the show fun to watch was because of how the characters interacted with each other, some of the nice rapport that they had with each other. Which you lose, I mean, there's still some of that in the movie. You lose a little bit of it, I feel. The show, I think, worked on that more because they didn't have the budget to have the big set pieces. Because here you have the budget for the big set pieces, there's still some fun to be had with the characters and the rapport with each other, but I just felt it went down a little bit more. That went down a little bit more, but the set pieces went up quite a bit as well. So it's almost like a little bit of give and take because of that. But I would say at the end of the day, I thought this was a very entertaining movie, and because I saw the show, definitely much more of a understandable movie and less confusing. I do wonder if people who never saw the show, they could have been kind of confused, or at least they would not have. There's certain moments that they probably would not have gotten out of compared to if they watched the show and knew of it. For example, there's the lady that was the high-priced hooker, but they don't call her hooker. And by the end of that show, she was ready to leave, and there was kind of this tension of sexual tension between her and Nathan Fillion's character. She'd come back here. If you never saw the show, you wouldn't know their history that much, so the reuniting might not be as effective for a newer viewer compared to if you did watch that show. And they do try to bring people up to speed at the beginning, the backdrop. There's this war between the Alliance and Independence, and the Alliance won. You do get Summer Glau's character River as a kid, and saying, hey, people don't like to be meddled, they don't like being told what to do, that's why the Independents are mad at the Alliance. Then you get a bit of her backstory, where as she grew up, she was experimented on to be a psychic, to be an assassin, and then someone was dumb enough to put high officials around her region, so she might have accidentally gotten some information, so that when the brother gets the sister out, that's why the higher-ups are so much wanting to find her in case she does have this info and she's ready to spill it. And that by this point, they've released an agent called the Operative, played by Chiwetel Ejiofor. I might have butchered that name, but that's a guy I've seen a lot of stuff I've really enjoyed. He was in 2012, the Roland Emmerich film. He was in Red Belt. Again, very capable actor. I thought he gave a very interesting performance where he's very calm and he'll outright admit that he's evil. I made no qualms about that, but he's, again, pretty calm in his demeanor. I didn't mind him as you call our main villain of the movie. And then we're reintroduced to our characters from the show. Nathan Fillion, the captain, and it is a good cast. I think Joss Whedon, despite what he might have been like on set for various productions, he knew how to handle a cast of people in terms of their characters. He knew how to handle them to try to get some nice rapport between the characters. He featured that on Buffy the Vampire Slayer TV show. He featured that in this TV show and movie Serenity, in the TV show Firefly. Even the first Avengers and the second film, you see that he knew how to have people together and try to have them work as a unit. I think that was definitely one of Joss Whedon's strengths as a writer-director. And that is showcased here, where our characters have to go into a bank robbery. They bring Summer Glau along, even though the doctor, doesn't want them to. And you do still get some fun sense of humor in pieces where they find a secret door in a secret room, and the guys ordered authorization password. So they shoot at him, and then the guy goes, okay. Let him come down. And, I mean, compared to the show, because they got a bit of a budget, there is definitely a bit more action and a bit more exciting action. The effects are improved a bit. I mean, maybe the effects aren't up to levels of some of the major franchises, but they work well for what they need to be. It was kind of disappointing when they got into some battle scenes. They did go towards the whole, you could hear explosions in space, you hear all this noise in space. Just, that was kind of a fun technique they had on the show, was that anytime they were in space, you didn't hear anything in terms of sound effects. Because you're in space, you would not hear anything. So I thought, okay, that's kind of nice. I wish they had carried that fully into the movie, but maybe the higher-ups said, you gotta do it. We know it's BS, but you gotta have some explosions in space. You have some noises and pew pew pew. Because, I mean, this is after the Star Wars prequels and all sorts of films. So it's like, well, you gotta have it. I do wish that wasn't the case, so it would feel a bit different. Just like the bits in the show did, but, what can you do? It's just a little nitpick. Nathan Fillion once again proves that he would have been a great lead in these type of films, whether it be in the Slither, the movie, this movie, Serenity, Firefly TV show. Nathan Fillion had a great, charismatic, leading man presence. But sadly, because of this film bombing, because Firefly, the TV show, bombed, because it was only one season, because even Slither didn't rock the world in terms of box office. He was a leading man on TV, Castle, and other shows for many years, but I think he's on the show The Rookie. He should have been cast as Nathan Fillion in an Uncharted movie. He should have been cast in a variety of other films. Sadly, it wasn't the case. I definitely think Hollywood or someone else dropped the ball with him. I don't know. It's just too bad, because like in this, he showcases he could do the humor parts. He had the likable presence of a leading man. He could be serious. There's some really good dramatic moments with Nathan Fillion's character that I really appreciated. They definitely amp up the predicaments, what's the word I'm looking for? Don't you hate that when there's a word you think of is stuck on the tip of your tongue? The stakes are definitely raised in this movie. And it is tough when you have so many characters, but you only have a certain amount of running time. You have to incorporate all this stuff. And the thing is with the show, the stuff with Summer Glau was the least interesting parts to me. It still is, but when you find out what's going on and what the secret is, and then with the operative as a villain, it made that much more palatable and easy for me to deal with. It's just that the brother character and Summer Glau, I was never interested in their characters. And then Summer Glau, there's a point where she gets triggered by a subliminal message, is beating up people in a bar. It was fine. It was fine. It was nothing remarkable, but it was fine. And you find out what's going on, and you also reintroduced to the Reavers, which were talked about quite a bit on the show. Now we actually do get to see what the Reavers look like. And granted, with the build-up, when you see the Reavers, I mean, they look like something out of any typical horror movie. But what more can you showcase as how they look like? Would they make them look like orcs? May look like completely inhuman. You can't do that because they're supposed to be human, but they turn crazy. But it's pretty much stuff that might have been built up on the show for many years and try to put them all into one movie. So not everything is going to be having the I's dotted and the T's crossed, but I think they did a valiant effort on that. Like the whole thing with the Shepherd, Ron Glass's character, I mean, he's not even part of the group. He's away on some other settlement. And there's always this idea that there's more to him. Pretty much the only thing you get about that is him saying, I was not always a shepherd. Apparently there's a comment that goes into his backstory. But you never really get much of who he was and why he was there and his past. So sadly, that character kind of got a short end of the stick in the long run. Same with like Alan Tudyk as the pilot. I mean, he has a couple lines here and there. Some of them not that funny. Some of them okay. But I'm just thinking like some characters get a little bit short end of the stick at times. Because again, you have to look at the bigger picture, and you have to introduce other characters, like the villain character, and you have to have some room for some action set pieces, so you could, because that's what an audience expects in this type of big budget sci-fi action film, which is perfectly understandable. And there's some nice moments. I think Nathan Fillion definitely gets the best of it, as he should, because he's definitely, to me, my favorite character of all these. Gina Torres has some nice moments as well. Even Adam Baldwin gets some fun moments. Like I said, there's some nice serious moments, like they have to leave because these Reavers are coming and they have to leave a man behind because he'd slow them down. But then Gina Torres asks, well, could we not have dumped the money? And Nathan Fillion kind of stops because he didn't think about that. It's like, well, this was, maybe I like to eat sometime this month. Like trying to argue it away. And then she says, well, during the war, we would not have left a man behind. And Nathan Fillion goes, well, maybe that's why we lost. But at the same time, you tell that still bothers him. That still is in the back of his head of the man he used to be and the man he is now. And that definitely comes to fruition later on. So I definitely think, I like the way they dealt with Nathan Fillion's character. It showed that, I would say on the show, he felt more of a goofball, while here, while there is some fun moments, definitely, understandably so, much more serious, because the stakes are much more dire. And I like that. I mean, because of the situation, it was sad that you didn't see a bit more of his humor, but still some of it came out. Like when they get to a place and the female mechanic's like, man, I had nothing to twist my nethers that wasn't running batteries. And Nathan was like, I can't know about that. I don't want to hear about that. And then Adam Baldwin goes, I understand hear a little bit more about that. That's really like, it still has its funny moments of that nature. I would see the show a bit more of a humor and then the action was second, while here the action is a bit more forefront and the humor is a little bit secondary. But it still worked and it went at a good pace. I never got that bored with it. David Krumholtz, who was the head elf in those Tim Allen Santa Claus movies. He was in the Harold Kumar films as a supporting character. He's here as Mr. Universe's hacker, who becomes important in the third act. I thought some of the best parts of the film was between Nathan Fillion and the villain Chiwetel Ejiofor's character. How the both have similar, but they have very different ideals. I do like the bit where he's like, I'm unarmed, and Nathan Fillion goes, good. And he immediately shoots him. Also, spoiler, there's a good serious moment where after they find a settlement where a lot of people are dead, and Ron Glass's shepherd has been killed, and he goes, I don't care what you believe in, just believe in something. And then Nathan Fillion realizes that this villain is going to go after everyone that helped him in some way. And he finds that all these people are dead. And he's talking with the bad guy and saying, I don't murder children. And the bad guy just calmly goes, I do, if I have to. I like that. I like they have a villain that he has his weird morals that he's doing it for the good of the Alliance, but at the same time, he's a very cold, calculating villain. I thought him and Nathan Fillion made a good adversary. That's why a bit of the ending was a little bit disappointing, which I'll get to. I'll get to that, why the ending kind of disappointed me a bit. I like the no-nonsense Nathan Fillion, where all this stuff has happened. It's like, we don't make it look like a Reaver ship. Get these dead bodies, put them on there. Listen, if you don't want to be here, either leave, or I'll shoot you, and this and that. Like, the no-nonsense type. Like, this is the guy who is the forefront from the war. This is the guy who's going to win the battle. This is the guy that you want to be behind. He needs to be as cold as the villain. He needs to be up to par with the villain. And as I said, it raises the stakes up. It makes things a bit more serious. And unlike a Marvel film, you can't tell a joke every 5 minutes because of it. So when it gets serious, it makes sense as to why the humor is dimmed down a bit. Every once in a while it pops back up with like Adam Baldwin and such, but it makes perfect sense. And like nowadays, if a Marvel film, they still try to force in a piece of humor, even though it's a serious demeanor and manner. I think Joss had a better handle on that, which is why I think Avengers Age of Ultron is the best Avengers film, in my opinion. But anyway, I also like, maybe it's typical, but I like the plot where you find out that the Alliance, because of some tests they did to suppress aggression, they're the ones that caused the Reavers. I don't know if that was always the intention, because they mention a bit of the Reavers in the show. I don't know if that was always the intention. I'm assuming so. But I didn't mind that because, like I said, it raises the stakes even more. I do like Nathan Fillion's speech about them getting ready for battle. I aim to misbehave. No more running. I do like that. Now the finale, in spoilers, they pretty much become part of the Reavers, and then they go through, and the Reavers chase after them into the bad guys' Alliance Armada, so the two of those armadas fight each other while our heroes go through the wreckage, and you hear a lot of explosions, space. Again, typical stuff you see in a lot of these movies. Alan Tudyk gets his one moment to shine, to fly through it. They land. Then as soon as they land, he gets impaled, stabbed. Now I don't know where that came from. That was confusing because they land in something. And as they land, and you see the ship, they land like right here. And it's a pretty wide space. You see there's nobody around. There's no ships around, there's no bad guys around, there's nobody around. And literally they breathe for like 1 minute and then something stabs right through them. And I'm like, who was that? Where did that thing come from? Did they must have just teleported? I thought that was a bit weird. It would have made sense if he died because of the crash, not because some Reaver teleported right in front of the ship and stabbed him. I mean, when you go through, you rewind back 1 or 2 minutes. Like, wait a minute, that's how they crash, and how, where did this thing come from? Doesn't really add up. It's like they're more for a shock moment. And it's like, it's Alan Tudyk, I thought, for the show, because I think he's a good actor, love him in Tucker and Dale vs. Evil, I thought he got really the kind of the short shit end of the stick as a character. I think he could have, there's a lot more he could have offered and could have done, and he didn't. I like him because I like the actor, but I don't know, he has a few little moments throughout the show and movie, but I don't know. That was a bit disappointing. And the finale, I mean, pretty much the other characters hole up and the Reavers are coming in, they're shooting some of them. It was okay. It was nothing that extravagant or that... It was okay. Summer Glau goes in, they get some medical supplies, and she starts fighting some of these Reavers. But the fact is, it keeps cutting away from that to Nathan Fillion and his fight, because they have this evidence that they want to show to the whole universe, this message, and he having to fight the operative. I don't know, the whole thing with Summer Glau having her moment to fight all these Reavers, because you see snippets and it keeps cutting away, it loses a bit of the effect, I thought. The grand deal, like, this is the moment, this is all building up to Summer Glau fighting the Reavers. And it felt like it should be much more impactful, or much more intense, or much more than it really was. Like this was building it up to. But again, the fact that you see bits and it keeps cutting away, I don't know, it loses some kind of effect. I don't know how else to put it. I'm sure I'm the only one that feels that way. I was more interested in Nathan Fillion trying to fight this operative guy. Now, this is also another thing that I did get annoyed by in movies, the lucky coincidence, or luck that would never happen in real life, but just happens in this because it's a movie. And that's, I'm likely to fight between Nathan Fillion and the bad guy. But the bad guy has a tendency to do one of these things to a nerve, and he does it to Nathan Fillion. But I do like Nathan Fillion then grab the guy, hitting his neck, and like breaking his back or something, whatever he does. I'm not sure exactly. But he says, oh, well, that nerve you tried to hit, there's some shrapnel. So I had it moved. It's like, of course, it just happens that he tried to hit that same nerve. Not the nerve over here, not the nerve up there, not the nerve up there. The one nerve he tried to hit is the one nerve that didn't affect Nathan Fillion. How lucky can you get? And, I mean, it's a nitpick, but it's kind of like in a movie where the bad guy gets the gun on the hero, and it just so happens to be empty or misfire. I can't help it. I mean, I know that's done for movie suspense, but that little bit just... Stuff like that does annoy me from time to time, because it's like, nah. In real life, there'd be a bullet in there. In real life, he would have hit the... I know it's not real life, it's escapism. That's why I'm not going to... Nope, movie 0 out of 10. 4 out of 10, Bret Hart style. No, it just... The little coincidence luck factor just will annoy me from time to time. But overall, I did like the fight. I did like the battle. Well, I did like the fight. The Summer Glau stuff, because I didn't really care about her character. Whatever. That's my reaction, whatever. But the Nathan Fillion stuff I definitely like more. But then the fact that he doesn't kill off the guy, I get why he lets him see the message, which helps out because he says men stand down so that they're able to survive. But then I would have liked to, like, after everything's fine and done, he just out of the blue shoots him in the head. And they hide the body, and he said he was going to leave. Or he fakes him out and shoots him. You know, this is for the shepherd. The shepherd told me to believe in something. I believe in this, and holds the gun and, you know, shoots the guy in the head. Like, something to that effect. The fact that Chiwetel Ejiofor, I know Nathan Fillion says, probably next time I see him, I'm going to kill you. But I didn't like that the guy that literally said he's evil, that literally said, I'll murder children if I have to, that killed so many innocent people, that he just gets away at the end. I didn't like that. It felt as if they were hoping for a franchise and let's save them for a sequel that never happened. And even the way it ends, like, Nathan Fillion's talked with Summer Glau, I'm like, they don't really have much of a friendship for the two of them to be talking at the end. Where Nathan Fillion's giving this story about, you're the pilot now, love keeps her in the air when she ought to fall down. I'm like, you didn't really get much of a connection between these two characters. Yeah, there's a point that they could have left her behind, and she's like, we're going to go. But if that's the case, then there should have been at least a few moments of Nathan talking with her, trying to calm her down, her fears, maybe him telling her war stories of the past, or what he's learned throughout the years, and being like a father figure to her. There should have been like build-up of those moments in order for that last shot to work in terms of dialogue. Because otherwise it just seems to be a bit out of the blue. So again, there's certain moments of the script and, you know, the way characters are utilized that, and with the finale, that I'm not big on. The fact that the Reavers are such a big portion, and Nathan Fillion, our lead, never gets to fight the Reavers and head on with the Reavers, like 1-on-1 or 2, 3, 4-on-1. That would have been nice to see. But the action scenes are decently capable. The effects at the time as well. The actors, like I said before, that was the big part of Firefly that made it work. It's also the big part that made Serenity work. Is Joss Whedon got a good cast of actors to play characters that have a bit of personality or a bit of not as much rapport as the TV show, but there's still some nice pieces of rapport in there. I like that the stakes felt raised. It felt important enough to be a movie. It didn't feel like, oh, there's another episode of a TV show. No, it felt as if, no, this is to have a plot that's prominent for a movie, for a feature. The stakes are important enough that the stakes really matter. And like I said, Nathan Fillion still showcased that he could have been a great leading man. And sadly, they just, Hollywood dropped the ball, like I said. So overall, I would say I liked it. I thought it was a decent enough send-off. I'm sure they were hoping to get a franchise out of this. Remember, like the Star Trek thing, where Star Trek was on for 3 years. Got canceled. Motion picture came out and became a very successful string of movies. Maybe they were hoping for this. A show that was beloved but short-lived gets a movie, gets a franchise, and, you know, get 3, 4, 5 movies. That wasn't the case. This film just completely bombed. Whether because people thought it'd be just a typical movie, or the public didn't know much about the show. So this is more of a cult show, or they didn't really know any of the actors. So it's not like, oh, I'm gonna go see this because there's big stars in it, or the title Serenity. People probably like, what does that mean? Or I know what it means, but what does that relate to it? I don't know. That's up to you as to why you think it bombed. Feel free to let me know in the comments. But either way, Would I have been open to a sequel? Sure. I'd be curious, but sadly it wasn't the case. So that said, thanks once again, Elliott. Thank you guys. Take care. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.